Yo, what up, YouTube family? Wanted to stop by with a quick announcement and invitation for you. So, I just started a brand new Facebook group. It's a public group. I wanted to invite you to join. Whereas some of the YouTube videos, can be singularly focused on one topic, I think this is going to be a great way for me to connect with you guys a little bit better and also faster. So, you can just kind of drop your questions. I can answer you in a much faster time frame so you can kind of, hit the ground running and start implementing. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link down in the description here. The good thing is, as of right now, it's a very small, intimate group, so it's going to be a really, really good way for us to interact. In time, I would love for this thing to kind of blow up, and the idea is to, yes, let's have a think tank. Let's get some great discussions going, some exchange of ideas. Hopefully, we'll get some other wholesalers in here who can share their experiences and what's working for them and what's not working. But in addition to getting those ideas flowing, I would love if this becomes a very, very actionable place, a community that's more of a marketplace where you can meet joint venture partners, maybe cash buyers, accountability partners, and ultimately start doing some deals together. So again, go ahead and click that link. Let's get you in this group, get those discussions going, start to blow this thing up. And in the meantime, I'm going to transition now to a question that I answered live that someone posted in the group. So go ahead and take a look or listen, and I look forward to speaking with you there. Okay, cool. We are live. What's up, everyone? Yo, I'm here to answer our very first question in the brand new Wholesaling with Mike Facebook group. If you're watching this, I'm streaming this on Instagram as well. You don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Basically, yesterday I started a brand new Facebook group. I think it's going to be just a cool way to stay in touch. Like, whereas the YouTube videos, you kind of have to stay singularly focused on topic. This is just going to be a cool way where I can disseminate some information, right? Where you guys can just drop your questions, I get you the answer, and then you can go execute. What's going on, everyone? What up? So our first question, this is from Katrina. Very first question, and I want to thank all of you guys who joined yesterday. It's awesome. Like I said, I'm very excited for this community. All you guys are officially founding members, so thank you so much. And so with no further ado, also, if you're not a part of the group, you go to Facebook, just search Wholesaling with Mike, group will pop up. All right. So the first question is from Katrina. Hi, I know someone who has one home in pre-foreclosure and another that he wants to sell. How should I approach him, and which home should I inquire about? Please help. Also, if you can hear me, please let me know. Okay, so the first and very most important thing here is to call. You gotta call. You gotta call them right now. You gotta call as soon as we're done. We'll be done here in like a minute, right? So you want to call immediately because speed is important in any business, but especially in wholesaling. Speed wins the game at all times. So speed is it's going to be more important to do things imperfectly, quickly, and do it as much as possible than to wait until you got it all figured out, till you're perfect, and then try to do it. So the most important thing is to go ahead and make that call as soon as possible. Do not delay. Do not procrastinate. Now, if you are new, and I imagine a good amount of you are here, like your first few calls, they're probably going to be kind of fucked up in some way. Like, you're going to make some kind of mistake. And so you can't be afraid of that. Just knock it out the park. Like, get it out of the way. That way you can just get better. It is a skill. You'll get better at it. And I have a video on that, so we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so when you are calling, what you want to do is you always want to kind of be focused. You want to have the end goal at mind. And so that's why I always recommend that you have a script. Now, this said, in this question you're asking, this is someone that you know. So you might want to open the call a little bit differently. You might want to preface it with, I don't know, is it a, thank you. Is it a cold call, or is it a family member, or is it, someone that you casually know? So the introduction might vary just a little bit. But because one thing is a pre-foreclosure, so a lot of people ask me, well, how do I approach a pre-foreclosure versus, say, a divorce? And personally, I don't make any distinction, because we all know you're not supposed to shoot the messenger, right? But people do that shit. So you're thinking about it like, yes, you're coming from a point of view where you're trying to solve a problem. You're trying to solve a pain point for someone. However, when you call them and you're like, yo, what's up, Joe Smith? I heard you getting pre-foreclosed on. I heard you lost your job. I heard you don't have any money. Yo, what's up, Mrs. Smith? Like, I heard you're getting a divorce. Like, that triggers negative emotion, and that's going to be associated with and project onto you. So you don't want to be the person that makes them feel that. Remember, people are doing business with people they know, like, and trust. And so building on that, if you are saying these things off the jump, like, off rip, that person's not going to like you. They're not going to want to, you're bringing up things they might not want to deal with. And so I recommend, and the way I do all my calls is to approach them the same way. And so if you look at the scripts that I use, it's typically just something like, you have your 30-second elevator pitch, but you're an investor. You're looking for homes in the area. You wonder if they're interested in selling. And usually after you're talking, and naturally, very much organically, you'll start to build some rapport anyway. And at that point, they'll usually disclose that to you, or they might not. That's not really, well, I mean, they will, but again, you don't dictate kind of when that happens. So that's kind of the first part, right? Is that you just need to make the call, and then you just say, you give them your pitch. And then a lot of times the question you're going to get is, how'd you get my information? And at this point, and a lot of my stylists say, it's a little bit vague, right? You kind of answer almost like a politician. Oh, and it's up to you depending on where you are in your wholesaling journey. If you want to say, I'm buying, my company is buying, I'm working with an investor. So you would tell them, kind of, again, back to the pitch, tell them, sorry, I forgot, what are we saying? In the case of where they're asking how you got their information, right? You just tell them, well, we've purchased some properties in the area and we're calling homeowners to see if they're interested in selling. Like, literally, that's all you really have to do. Delete or dismiss that call. Yeah, that's all you have to do. If they probe a little bit more, you can just tell them, we call from a list of properties that meet our criteria, and we're just seeing if you're interested. Now, the other thing with this is that a lot of people tend to, actually, before I tackle that, let me get to the other part of your question. Which home should you inquire about? Both of them, because you might be more interested in selling one than the other. And one thing I always tell my students to ask, and I talked about this in my previous video, is that you should always be asking, even if they say no, do you know anybody else who has a home that they would like to sell? And that's going back to that 6 degrees of separation. You can be connected to any person on the planet between 6 or less intermediaries. And like that study I told you about, it's like a Harvard study or Yale study. And they said now, remember, that was done maybe 80s or something. They said with social media, it's like more like 2.5. So basically, it's like, if you ask someone, they know someone, or they know someone who knows someone who's a motivated seller. So a lot of times this business really just works in volume, and that's another reason why the speed is so important. But like, you don't know, you don't want to make assumptions. And one thing I like to do is ask very open-ended questions. So just, hey, tell me about your house. And then through the course of your script, again, they'll start to disclose these things to you. But you want to get just basic information. I don't like to waste too much information on stuff you could get from like the property appraiser site. I know some people kind of want to know all the details, but I ask very basic. Hey, tell me about the house. And then you really want to get down to the motivation. So why are you interested in selling? And that is more important than, most of the other reasons I think people think, or like this ARV and this max allowable offer and all that shit, man. You want to know, why are these people selling? You do want to know the mortgage balance to make sure that they're able to sell, or if you'd be in like a short sale situation or something like that. So yeah, I mean, that is pretty much it. If you guys have follow-ups, please, questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments, and I'll take a look at those in just a second before I lose my train of thought even more than I am right now. So, and then you want to go right into it. You want to ask these questions when you get down to the part where you're basically asking for how much are they going to pay. You want to ask it with some authority, and you want to ask it expectantly, meaning that people are conditioned to respond more or less to an authority, or to more or less live up to expectations. So if you kind of beat around the bush and say, and you're very hesitant or not confident when you ask that question, say, hey, you make your pitch, we pay cash, we can close in as little as 7 days. Now, and then that's when you just kind of drop it on, assuming I'm paying cash and I'm doing all that. What is the least amount that you take for this house? And then you just shut the fuck up. Don't say anything and let them talk. And then the next thing you really want to be prepared for are the objections. Objections are going to come inevitably. Oftentimes it's going to take the form of, well, you make me an offer first, or I got to think about it, something like that. And those are things that you really need to be prepared for. Now, the best way to prepare, obviously, is volume, right? So that competence builds Confidence. Yeah, I'm saying that right. Yeah. So the more you do it, just the better you'll get at it. Now, in terms of the specific scripts, another call. Yeah, I'll call you back. In terms of these specific scripts, if you guys want to check out my scripts, I got them at wholesalingscripts.com. Back on sales to like $19 right now, and then they come with my free ebook, Overcoming Objections. You really want to study that. That's going to show you the specific objections and how to respond to that. And the thing is, you don't want to beat around objections. You want to pull them out. If they're saying, well, I got to think about it, you need to follow that. Oh, and be empathetic, but ideally you're getting, well, what do you need to think about? And try to really pull those strings to get them to tell you the real shit that's going on. Because usually the first objection, second, they're not going to really tell you the real thing. That's kind of happening in that situation. All right. So the next thing I'm going to be on, I'm going to, thank you. Amazing scripts. Appreciate that. What if a seller asks right off the bat, what is your offer? Well, again, that's where you really, I get to you in 1 second. Yeah, what is your offer? Well, then, think about it, right? From a logical point of view, if you ask somebody what is your offer and they just blurt out a number, it's like, would you really even take them seriously for a lot of these people? And it's like, well, I don't know shit about your property or anything like that. So it's like, I'd love to get you an offer, but I really just need a little bit more information about the property. Similar to like when they ask you make an offer first, it's like, well, just kind of give me a ballpark figure. And usually that's enough, just any type, they give you a pushback and you just, kind of flip it back on them. There are a lot of different techniques I talk about in the book. Like another thing could be mirroring, where like they ask you a question and you just say it back to them and then slightly change up your tonality. Like I said, I go into detail in that book. But the other thing I want to mention with that is, tip of my tongue, question, sorry. Oh, okay. When you're on these calls, right, the idea is to not try to make a wholesale deal. And a lot of times you guys are putting way too much pressure on yourselves to make a deal. It's like, yo, man. And that's why a lot of people get nervous on the phone. They're like, yo, I got to make a deal. Like, I got to make this happen. How can I make them, take a low offer? And that's not what we're doing here. Like, yeah, there's some skill involved when it comes to negotiating, overcoming those objections, and having that conversation that's rooted in trying to solve a problem in empathy and, authenticity. But the frame I come from is two things. Number one, especially if you're new and you're making your phone calls, your job, dial the number and press send. If you do that, in my opinion, especially if you're new, like, you've won. So don't even think past that, because the other shit, like, once you're in the situation, you'll have to handle it, right? So the main thing right now is just focus on dialing, press and send. You won. It's a win for you no matter what happens. Now the next thing is that you got to be thinking, all right, how can I help? Can I help? And sometimes even when you're asking, like, what's your offer? It's like, well, we're looking at a couple different properties right now. So if you could just kind of give me a ballpark, like, I know your time is valuable. I really don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time really either. And there's sometimes with certain people where I'll even say the objection right out front and call them up. Be like, listen, I know you might be concerned that, and then whether, you think that they're getting a lowball offer or whatever it is. And I'm just here to tell you that, like, I'm here to help. And yes, I'm looking to make a profit. I'm not going to live here. I'm an investor. But, so obviously I need to get a deal. I want to make a profit. But you need to be happy with this as well. And so, again, I'm not going to waste your time. But we're only going to do the deal if it's a win-win scenario. And if not, I could maybe present you with some other options. But essentially, we're only going to do the deal if it's a win-win. But I really need to know this information, or you have to let me know kind of what your ballpark is to see if this is even feasible. Or you can frame it in, again, that there's competition, which adds the levels of urgency on their part, sense of urgency, and a sense of scarcity, in the sense that, well, if you don't just come correct with me, then you might lose it because I might go buy another house. So that's very important. And then what that goes back to saying before is you're not trying to make a wholesale deal. You know what I'm saying? And I use this analogy in a couple of videos where it's like digging for gold, right? So if you're a prospector, like, you're digging for gold, right? You're going to find a lot more dirt and rocks and all kind of shit, and you filter it through before you find the gold. So you go through, you find more of what you don't want than what you do want. So you're going 95% of that stuff is trash. You don't need it. It's a way, you call it waste your time. But when you do find that little baby nugget, that little ounce or whatever, then all the shit you had to go through was all worth it. But you're not trying to turn the dirt, and you're not an alchemist, right? You ain't trying to turn the dirt and rocks and all that shit into the gold. You're just trying to find it. So a lot of times you're going through these sellers. If they start hitting you with stuff like, well, give me an offer right now, blah, 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 they're probably not that motivated, and you should probably just keep it moving. Again, follow-up super, super important. So if there's a potential, yeah, you want to keep it going and you want to follow up periodically. But I'm just saying, if it's clear that they're not like really trying to fuck with you, like they're just not motivated, that's cool, man. And then what you can do in time, especially as you know, so much is business networking. And you know, what I do is like if people are not down, they're not motivated enough. Think about it. If someone's gonna foreclose on your house, they're gonna take your shit. They're gonna put a big fat boom foreclosure on your credit report. It's gonna be there for the next 7+ years, right? You can't get no loans, you can't do anything. The neighborhood's gonna see you kicked out of your house. Your shit's gonna pop up online, foreclose. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have a different attitude than someone who's like, man, you know, I kind of want to sell, but like, tell me your offer first, right? So that's kind of the difference there, and what you want to keep in mind. And as you get connected to different people in the real estate industry, like people that talk to me, now I tell them, hey, we're not gonna do the deal unless it's a win-win. And then, you know, later I can present them with some options, and so whether that could be like a lease option or something like that, but that's a whole different discussion. But one thing that I'm doing personally, my mom's a realtor. So I'm like, listen, if I can't buy this house from you, that's all good. Like, I'm just here to help, and I have a lot of resources that I can help you with. I can put you in touch with other people. I can put you in touch with the best realtor in the state to list your shit. And I mean that because my mom is Caribbean roots, man, very hard working woman, and she even goes above and beyond way too much than I think is appropriate sometimes. But and so, you know, then you become, you know, you're a pipeline for other people. And then principles of reciprocity, back to one of my favorite books, influenced by Robert Cialdini. Like that shit just comes full circle. Like you help people, whether it's that seller, maybe you help them and they're not that motivated, but you hook them up with like a really cool you know, realtor or something like that. And then next thing you know, their auntie is going through a divorce, and she's like, oh, you know what, I know this get distracted with the comments. I know this really cool investor. He's buying. Yeah, talk to me. He's really nice. Like he helped me out. Blah blah blah. And like that's why you can't look at your actions like in a bubble. Like all these calls and all this nervousness that some people feel, like you can't look at it as like, oh, I got to meet the end goal right now. You got to look at it like, yo, this is training. It's like my education. If you went to med school for how many years, you don't just come out and you're the top surgeon. You know what I mean? You got to go to, you know, do your residency and all that kind of stuff. So you're still in the education process. Another thing I tell my students, their actions that you're taking today, you know, and then, what are we in? March? Lose track of April. I'm sorry. See? And then, you know, April or even May, you're going to be like, man, damn, I've been working at this and this shit, you know, this shit's not working out, blah, 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 whatever. And then you're going to get to May and June, and then someone's going to call you and you're going to be like, huh, what? And it turns out that it was the actions that you took in March or here in April, and they're calling you from that time. So again, you can't look at like the direct results like that, and you got to just make the calls. So again, some of the takeaways, remember, we're not trying to force people to be motivated. We're doing our due diligence, trying to talk to them, start a conversation, especially when people are in pain. Yo, they like to talk about it. If you're coming from a place where you're not being really fucking judgmental, man, because nobody likes that. But if you're just like cool and you're listening and you're engaging and you're asking questions, you're not thinking like, all right, when do I get to the next part of my script? You know, stay on track. Don't go on these crazy ass tangents, but like, you know, really hear them out, empathize. These are people going through real shit. And again, the reason I say it's not like opportunistic or taking advantage is because, you know, if they deal with you, and one of the criteria for doing your deal is like if they deal with you, their outcome is going to be better than if it were, you know, with someone else. And I got a lot of stories about that. I'll repeat one really quickly, even though I said it's going to be a quick video. Like my mentor, when he was coming up, he was working with his mentor, and basically he was dealing with some older lady, and he was like, he went to his mentor, he's like, yo, I couldn't do it, man. I feel like I was taking advantage of her. And it turned out like some other investor who had a real reputation as being like a real shark gave her a much lower offer than that dude was gonna, than my mentor was gonna give her. Basically kicked her off, put her on the street. Then my mentor's mentor told him, it's the fast version if you can tell, what did he say? Oh, he was like, look, if you bought it, you could have told her, hey lady, like, you know, you could have paid her a little bit more. You could have been like, you know, we'll let you stay in the place for 30 days so you get yourself on track. Hey, I'll put up a little bit of money, get you in a moving truck or something like that, right? And so that was kind of his lesson that, hey, like if you don't come from a place of service, you could be really screwing these people. And we used the foreclosure example earlier as well. So there's that. Also, you want to have a script, right? So again, my wholesaling scripts, yeah, they're less than $20. Go grab them. They're worth not egotistically. Like if it makes you one deal, make 10 grand. I mean, it's worth a lot. And then with that, make sure you read through the Overcoming Objections book because, yeah, the script's important, but the objections, they're going to come on every call and you don't want to be blindsided. And it's usually like the same objections that come up over and over. So when you're prepared for that, boom, that's money. Um, what else? What else? What else? In terms of your scripts, you need to be practicing that. You need to have that down, right? You don't want to read your script like, "Hello, sir. How are you doing today?" You want to sound like a robot. I mean, you want to be on script, meaning on task, but you want to talk like a fucking person, right? Like a real person. So you want to practice that. And I was even listening to some of the sales guys in Cardone's office, Grant Cardone. Yes, I'm a big fan. And they were like, "Yo." They were like, "How old?" They asked him, "How long does it take you to get rusty?" And these guys were like, I was like, "Man, probably like, what are they gonna say, like a week or something?" Because they were talking about the importance of training every morning. They were like, "Man, 12 hours." I think one of them was like, "Man, a couple hours, 3-4 hours." So you got to be practicing. At the very least, you need to be rehearsing this in the script. Now I know I told you to make in the mirror. In the mirror. Now I told you to make this call immediately when the video ends, but maybe like take a minute and like practice the script, run through it real quick first, right? If you want to jot down some bullet points, if you don't have my script, which you should, but if you don't, like do that first. Also, my script is like training on like tonality and stuff like that. That's really, really important when you talk to people. You know, only like what 7% of what we our communication is words. The other 93%, even though you can't see body language, you can kind of feel it. You know, my tone of voice. You know, someone's like, "How are you doing today?" It's like, "Hey, I'm doing all right." Versus, "I'm doing all right." It's like the words are the same, but even if you couldn't see me, I mean, I think we kind of drive that point home, right? Um, next. So practice. Now, practice in the mirror is the very least, but ideally, you want to get a partner, you know, an accountability partner or somebody. It could be mom, dad, kids, you know, whoever, people in your household, roommate. But if not, hit someone on a Skype or Zoom or, you know, we got internet these days, so there's no excuse. Now, the cool thing is, if you just join my new Facebook group, Wholesaling with Mike, public Facebook group, I'll be happy, especially now when there aren't like too many of us, which, you know, hopefully we'll blow it up real big, right? But for now, like I'm in here, I'm answering your questions. So if you want to call me on like this, and give me your pitch, I'll pretend to be the motivated seller, right? Man, 7 is just really crazy. Divorce, man, fuck. And I will give you, I'll talk to you like a motivated seller, and I'll give you my feedback, and we can do some role playing there. What up, man? I see Nick on here. Nadir, what's up, guys? How are you guys doing? Nick is asking, how do I get the rejection list? I'm not really sure what that is, man. So you gotta rephrase that for me. Now, the other two things before we go real quick. So remember, practice. You're never going to be perfect. Just keep practicing that shit. Obviously, the live stuff is the best. The more mistakes you get out the way, the better. But also, I got 2 videos on my YouTube channel. One is called Watch Me Fuck Up a Call, where I call and I act like a complete amateur. And I'm actually talking to a real estate agent, which at times, because of their level of skepticism, it can be even more intimidating, especially for someone new. And so I tell them straight up, I'm like, "Yo, I don't really even know what I'm doing." Like a lot of stutters and shit. Just so you guys can see it doesn't matter. And it's not that bad. Like, it's okay. I'm still here, right? I'm still here. So, there's that. And what else? The second video, I was going to tell you about one more video. How to be more confident on the phone. It's like a whole couple steps or checklist that I can show you, you know, how to be more confident, like mindset stuff, techniques, you know, how to go about making your phone calls and all that good stuff, which I think you'll find really helpful. Those are on YouTube, so you don't have to search them. I'll actually go to the channel, copy the URL. I post them in the Facebook group so you guys can just see those, watch those. So I think that we're good here. Nick, the Overcoming Objection books, those rebuttals, I know you're already in Wholesaling at Mike University, so they're in there. They're under the Wholesaling Scripts section. When I get off of this call, man, I'll shoot you an email with the direct URL. And so, yeah, that's stuff that you just want to practice. But thank you for that, or for that question, for your questions, and for props on the scripts, man. I like that. All right, so I think that's it. You guys have questions, go ahead and post it. And I'm so excited about this group, man. Right, while we're here, just because we're here, Jade is still in virtual school. So I'm going to refresh the page and see if we got any other questions that I can answer right now. I'm seeing myself. It's so weird. All right. Contracts are today, the clauses. Yeah, the clauses are updated in the ironclad contract clause as book, but I got a couple other different and it depends, like clauses for different contracts. I don't know if you're talking about assignment or the ironclad book or what. So just let me know, and I will you know, provide more details on that, or I'll just type it to you in the Facebook group. And other than that, man, I think that's pretty much it. So thank you guys again, you founding members, you sexy beasts. Right? That's what I'm talking about, taking action, right? You guys are jumping in the group. I really appreciate it. I love it. Look forward to, sometimes I'm long-winded, but sometimes I try to give you like really concise, direct answers. I'll probably be a little bit smoother as we, get into the swing of these things. And if you're just watching the live or the replay or whatever this is, make sure you get in this group, especially now, because I'm going to put some focus on there. Like I said, it's an intimate group right now, so you get to hear directly from me. I think this shit for right now. So I'm gonna go back to doing some wholesaling stuff after I make my little boo some lunch. And I'll talk to you guys on the next session, alright? I'll holler at you. Peace. I don't know how to end the Facebook Live.